Hello, and thank you for joining us once again on the NCHC podcast. I have the pleasure of doing one final podcast before we hit Nationals 2024. And as they say, it's certainly last but not least. I have a special guest with me tonight. She is on the All American First Five. She is a member of the MHEA Lady Eagles, and you will see her a lot next week at Nationals. I am joined by Grace Abram. Grace, how are you doing this evening?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited to be here actually. How are you? How are
Yeah,
you?
I'm doing well. Like we were talking a little bit before the podcast started. It's been
Hmm.
a pretty busy couple of weeks between
Yeah,
regionals and
most definitely.
nationals, as I'm sure it's
Yeah,
been for the teams as well, trying to prepare and get everything ready.
for
I'm
sure.
actually going to be leaving at like 6 in the morning tomorrow, so
Ooh.
just trying to get all that
Ooh.
ready as well. But it's the greatest week, one of the greatest weeks of my year every year, and I
Hey,
always
I
look forward to
agree.
it.
Me too.
So
Me too.
yeah, we were just talking starting Monday morning. The games are live and will be tipping off. And
Hmm.
speaking of that, the for MHEA, I know you guys were at the Big South, and I
Hmm.
didn't get a chance to really see y'all's games, which I'm kind of I don't love that because I was kind of alternating between I think opposite of when y'all were playing. But
Hmm.
how would you say MHEA season has gone so far for your team and for you as an
Hmm.
individual?
I think personally for my team, I know every single girl on my team have been putting in the work, especially before the summer really kind of showed it to us. Like we were all in the gym every single day. We were all training, you know what I'm saying? And I think it's really helped kind of pursue like how our season's been this year. And last season we had some seniors who left who were some very key players on our team, and we lost them this year. So this year's really been trying to figure out where people fit and the different roles people fit into. But I think the more my team played together, the more we kind of figured it out. We got our chemistry together, you know what I'm saying? And every single time I step out on the court with them girls, it's the funnest thing ever, you know what I'm saying? And I love playing with them. So I think this season has been great for our team for sure. Hmm.
Well, and obviously you hope that a week like next week is when your team peaks, right? You want to peak at the right
Yeah,
time. You want everybody to
exactly.
come together and have their best
Hmm.
tournament whenever it matters the
Exactly.
most.
Yeah, and I'm sure we will. We've been preparing for this. Like nationals has been on our mind since the beginning of the season. You know what I'm saying? Like we've played these teams years prior, so we're ready for it. We're excited for sure.
And you had mentioned, every year we talk about the dynamics on a team can change. And, some years
Hmm.
you lose some seniors or, some years you're just loaded with seniors. And
Yeah.
so it really can just depend year to year. But
Hmm.
what are some things that you would say that you learned from last year that kind of help you, or even previous years that help
Hmm.
you every year when you go to nationals?
Last year I had the privilege to play with my sister last year, and she was an amazing player. She's off playing in college right now, but we did lose her last year. So this year it kind of taught me to take a different role on the team, and to kind of step up. And we lost one of our point guards as well, you know what I'm saying? And then this year we're graduating six seniors, so we have to learn how to evolve, you know what I'm saying? So it's definitely taught us how to like fill in those gaps. So a lot of like players had to take on different roles. Like somebody who was big last year had to become one of our wing players this year. You know what I'm saying? And the more we figure it out, the more fun it becomes. Everybody becomes more dynamic. So yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, and it's an important thing
Hmm.
that you mentioned too, because you may think that things are going to go one way, and then as the year evolves or as the team, builds that chemistry, things might have to shift. People might have to fill into different
Yeah.
roles,
Hmm.
and it's just part of basketball, to be honest with you. And I'm sure you've
Exactly.
seen that throughout all the years.
Yeah, for sure.
So when we look at the brackets for next week, the way that the varsity girls is there is four brackets that are divided by
Hmm.
8A, 7A, 6A, and 5A. And
Gotcha.
MHEA is the number four seed in 7A.
Hmm.
So of the eight teams that are in that 7A, MHEA is currently ranked as the four seed. And
Hmm.
the teams that are above you, the teams that you're matched up with, are teams like HEA Firebirds, who made it to
Hmm.
the undisputed championship last year. Springfield Rush, who are having an amazing season. Aggie Land Panthers down here out of Texas. So,
Hmm.
what is the mentality when you see a bracket like that, or the teams that you saw when the bracket first released? What's that mentality going into next week?
Yeah, most definitely. So for me, my mentality is the same when in every single game I hop into, you know what I'm saying? I'm ready to go out and play as hard as I can and dominate and play my kind of game I know how to play, you know what I'm saying? And it's the same for every single one of my teammates. I know my seniors especially, they love playing basketball, and so I feel like I kind of owe it to them to play my best, and I know my seniors feel like they owe it to each other to play their best. You know what I'm saying? So no matter what we do, we're gonna step out against any team and play the game we know how to play, and we're gonna do the best we can and hope for the best. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna step off the court knowing we did our best, and that's all I can expect from my teammates. You know, so when I look at those teams, I'm sure we're gonna play our best against them. You know, and I'm sure they're gonna play their best against us, and it's just gonna be live. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be fun. Most def.
It's one of the things that I love so much is, throughout the regular season, I can't imagine you guys have played teams like HEA or
Yeah,
Springfield or it's just a
yeah,
different dynamic because you're playing teams
most
that aren't
definitely.
from your region, they're not even from your same
Mm-hmm.
state, and you
Exactly,
kind of don't know what to expect, but I think that kind
for
of is the
sure.
fun part about it. So
Yeah, and
I
then
go ahead, sorry.
no, and then in these in season games, like we play these teams like 3, 4 times a year. You know what I'm saying? And in Memphis, we play these girls on AAU teams, so we're used to how they play. We know how they play. But then we hop into nationals and play these girls. We play once, maybe twice a year. You know, so it's more exciting. It's more fun that way. You know.
Yeah, it certainly adds different dynamics to it. I wanted to ask you, whenever you think about nationals, right?
hmm
This is your junior year, so you've got this one and obviously another one next year. What is some of your favorite things about participating in a tournament like nationals?
Um, besides outside of basketball, nationals is one of those times where like every single age group when it comes to MHEA is like all together. Like even kids down to 10U up to varsity, like their families are there. They bring their parents, their grandparents, and it really kind of shows that MHEA family. You know what I'm saying? Like we have those like dress out days and things like that, and everybody's always going to everybody's game. Like I can't even remember like the times I'm at a hotel because I'm just hopping to different people's games. You know. And so it's just so much fun at nationals being able to watch everybody and seeing all the progress that everybody's done over the season. And obviously basketball has a big part about it, you know, playing on a in front of a big crowd and playing for a championship, like that's so exciting. But that family aspect of it where I get to see everybody and just have a great time. That's the best part about it for sure.
And I wanted to ask you too about the just the sheer advantage that it is to have a crowd like MHEA that shows up at every game. You mentioned it could be a boys 10 and under on
Mhm.
Monday at 8 a.m. and there's going to be a big crowd from MHEA there. And then, of course, across the board, you'll see like last year, I made a point to go talk to the MHEA varsity boys because I was at
Mhm.
Evangel and they walked in probably maybe the first quarter because I think they just come from a game.
Mhm.
Every single one of them to a T are dressed in a onesie, and the
Yeah.
whole fan
yeah.
base, they got the buckets, and you guys have the
yeah, yeah,
organized
yeah,
chants.
yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, what
That's
what
so
kind of advantage do you think that gives you at these? Essentially everybody's playing away games unless you're from
yeah.
Springfield. So how does that help you when you're on the court?
Yeah, the crowd definitely helps. There's been times where my team's energy has been kind of low and we're kind of in our head about our game, you know? And then the crowd will just start a chant or like call us out and then get us hype, you know? So, like, getting hype in a game is key. Like, you want energy, you want the momentum, and the crowd brings that energy and brings that momentum and just kind of gets you going. And so, with everybody there, especially everybody cheering you on, and rooting for you, it just makes you want to play harder, and makes you want to win for not only yourself and your team and your coaches, but for them as well, for the people watching. And it's just nice to have that kind of support and to be able to play for somebody who knows like they care about watching you advance and they care about watching you win. So it just makes you play harder. You get what I'm saying? It just
Hmm.
makes you just want to win. So it's the best when I have that crowd there and those people supporting for sure.
And you get to a point where you're, like you said, it's your junior year. Been a part of this MHEA family, as you say. But what was the beginning for you? What was your introduction to homeschool basketball, and what has that journey been like for you to get to where you are now?
Yeah, so I started playing basketball around eighth grade year, and I didn't really know where I was going to play. But my sister played for MHEA the year before I joined, and I went to regionals with her, and I went to nationals with her, and I got a chance to meet her teammates and my future teammates, and I got a chance to meet the coaches and things like that. And it was very welcoming as soon as I joined MHEA. And I already basically knew everybody, and everybody was cool, and it was chill, you know. I didn't have to go to school for 7 hours every day, so that was kind of fun, you know. And so far, being in homeschool basketball, especially like in Memphis, people will see like homeschooling our name, like Memphis Homeschool Education Association, would be like, oh, these little homeschoolers, like we're just gonna kill them, we're gonna beat them, you know what I'm saying? And so they schedule us on their senior nights and they schedule us on their big time games, but we go out and bring the same kind of competition that they do, and we end up beating them most of the time. And it's kind of fun, like proving them wrong, low key, you know what I'm saying? Like showing them, yeah, we are homeschooled, but we can play just as much as y'all can. And just being homeschooled, being able to work during the day and practice later in the day or go train as many times as I want throughout the day. It's fun. I like it for sure.
I imagine initially, whenever you were playing against public schools or big schools in the Memphis area, there might have been that idea of, oh, a homeschool team? Okay, well, they're going to show up in their
Yes.
denim skirts and,
Yes,
we're going to run the floor with
exactly.
them. I'm going to be honest with
Exactly.
you. I don't think that MHEA can get away
No.
with that anymore in the Memphis area.
Yes, that's what I try. That's what we try to do when they schedule us on their senior nights. We try to make sure they know, like we're here, we have a presence. We're not just little homeschool kids running around not knowing what we're doing. You know what I'm saying? And I think
I,
that's very cool to see.
Yeah, I was going to say between, the girls program and the boys program, I don't think you're catching many people by surprise anymore in the
Yeah,
Memphis area. I mean, maybe you
yeah.
might, but I think it's pretty well established now that it's a very quality
Hmm.
program that's over for MHEA. Um,
Yeah.
when you look at this being your junior year, and obviously, at nationals, that's kind of the culmination of your season. That's when
Hmm.
you want to perform your best. I know you're not thinking beyond this season probably yet, but in what ways would you say, because we had mentioned earlier that you're one of the first five on the All American watch list, which means that
Hmm.
you're one of the, one of the not guarantees, but one of the big threats to win an All American award at nationals, and obviously one of the top homeschool female players in the country. So, in what ways would you say you're developing your game? Like, what would you say you're working on currently?
So for me personally, I'm 6 feet, and a couple years ago, somebody saw, especially a girl who's 6 feet, and just like stick her in the paint, and it's like be big, wall up, you're a post player, things like that. But the game has evolved so much since then, and now we see players my size bringing the ball up the court and playing wings or shooting threes, stuff like that. And the game is just evolving, so I gotta evolve with it. So I've really been trying to work on my guard skills especially, and kind of outside the paint trying to break free from those walls of being a post player just because I'm tall, and try to develop those skills of more kind of like a wing player so I can appeal to some of these coaches, you know what I'm saying? So that's what I've been working on. Ball handling, most definitely, shooting, just those guard skills for sure.
Yeah, I'm glad you mentioned that too, because that's one thing we've seen evolve even within homeschool basketball is,
Mhm.
it's a microcosm of basketball as a whole. And so you see basketball has changed from you have your typical center down low, then you have your
Mhm.
forward, then you have your wing, then you have your shooting
Exactly. Like
guard, then
that
you have your
set
point
five.
guard. Yeah, you have your
Yeah.
set five positions. And it
Uh-huh.
certainly has become more positionless. I mean, you
Mhm.
just look at from the NBA all the way down. You're just seeing this shift to okay, not what size are you, but what skill set do you have. And
Exactly.
so I think it's great for you to notice that and recognize that.
Mhm.
Look, if I want to play at the next level, at 6 feet, I may not be a
A
post
post
player.
player.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I
Like there'll
think
be
that's
games
that's good.
There'll be games I sit there, play defense on somebody my height. I'm thinking, oh, I just gotta sit back in the post, gotta wall up. No, she's taking me out to the 3 point line, driving in. I was like, hold up, I gotta gotta fix this. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, that's definitely something I see changing, especially in homeschool ball for sure.
So speaking of homeschool ball and next week, we talked about the bracket that MHEA is in. Is there any kind of expectation for how the Eagles will play next week? I mean, again, I know year to year you never know what to expect, but if I were to ask you what are your expectations for MHEA, how would you respond to that?
So for my team right now, we've had a senior guard who's been out for like a month probably now, I think so. And she's gonna try to play at nationals, but we know she's not gonna be at 100%. And she was one of our main players all season. She's our starting point guard. And to play without her is definitely gonna be different at nationals, but I see it as more of like to like play for her. She's our senior, and we want to bring her home a chip. So we're gonna play our best, and we're gonna play for her, and we're gonna play for our coaches, and then like I said, we're gonna play for each other. So every single time we step out on that court at nationals, win or lose, we know we're gonna play our best because we're playing for each other, playing for God, things like that. So I expect us to do our very best, because especially because we've been locked in on these nationals. So I'm sure we'll do the best we can. hmm
So, what are some goals that you would say you're setting for yourself, either on or off the court, either this season or even beyond? Like, if I were to ask you, what do you think you'd want to do when you graduate? How would you, answer that?
So for me, post graduation, I definitely want to play ball in college for sure. And right now, I'm trying to get my game to that point. And I know there's a big jump between high school and college, no matter what level college it is. And so, like I said, I'm trying to develop those skills, kind of those guard skills. But I also do want to major in psychology when I get to college. So I'm working on those high school classes now, and I'm trying to get familiar with those kinds of things. So it could be like an easy transition into college. And most people would say there's no such thing as like an easy transition into college. But I'm trying to set myself up because people say playing in college is a full-time job. It's like literally, like you said, practices, and you wake up, practice 3 times a day, go to sleep, wake up, practice. And I know that. And so to major in something as tricky as psychology, as long as playing basketball. So I'm really trying to set up for those and make sure it's all easy and smooth for sure.
I would imagine too that that probably helps narrow your search, right? If you want to play
hmm
basketball at the next level, well, now you can take a look at, okay, which schools offer a psychology degree, right?
Exactly.
Because you can have this idea of,
hmm
okay, I want to play for this school or this school or this school. Well, now you can kind of go and use that as a filter for, your
hmm
search.
For sure. hmm
So, how does your faith play into the way that you conduct yourself both on and off the court?
Yeah, that's a great question. So to me, my faith and my belief in God is such a big thing to me. And God has given me the ability and the strength to play this sport that I love so much. Like, I would not be here right now if it wasn't for God and the gifts He's given me. And so every time I step out on the court, like, of course I want to win. Of course I want to average what I average. And of course I want to play my best, but I'm doing it all to play for God. My team, before we start a game, we always get in the huddle and we pray, and we end off saying, like, to God be the glory, because win or lose, it's all glory to God. No matter what we do, it's because of Him. And so every single time I'm on that court, I just know I'm playing for Him. And every hurdle I have to overcome, or even if it's an easy game, no matter what, He put me there for that reason. And so why not play for Him? You know what I'm saying? And that's definitely really important to me, because the same way He gave me that gift to play, He can take it away just like that, you know? And so I definitely thank God for putting me where I am right now, and I appreciate it for sure.
Yeah, I think that's also a very healthy perspective to have. I think
hmm
just being able to look at it with that correct perspective of, look, God's the one that gave me the talents, I can use it for Him, or I can use it in a way that's potentially destructive. So, um,
Exactly.
yeah, I think that's a great way to look at. Okay, well, I wanted to ask you one more question that I don't know if
hmm
you were prepared for or not, but
hmm
I'm going to go ahead and ask it anyway. When you're at
Got you.
nationals, when you're in Springfield, what
hmm
is either the go-to meal or the, hey, the tournament's
Mm.
over, let's go here?
Ooh, okay, just for everybody watching. So there was one time me and my teammates got Panda Express before our game. It was the worst idea literally ever. If you're watching this, do not go to Panda Express before your game. But for me, before the game, it wouldn't have to be a meal. Like, I can't eat heavy before the game. It'll have to be maybe like a cereal bar and a cutie, maybe a Gatorade. But after the meal, I want Chick-fil-A for sure. It'd have to be Chick-fil-A. That's a nice reward, you know what I'm saying? After the game, you played a hard game, just go to Chick-fil-A. I'm sure a lot of people would agree.
So I'm glad this video is not sponsored by Panda Express because I was going to share a similar experience. My friends and I, we went to Six Flags over Texas, which is over by
hmm
Dallas, and they've got all these roller coasters and everything. And we got there and we got that, pass to get on the roller coaster over and
hmm
over and over. So we'd probably rode it like 6 or 7 times in a row. And
Yeah.
we're like, oh man, it's time for lunch. We went, got Panda Express, and then made the decision to go back on the roller coasters, which
No, no,
so shout out to
no,
Panda
it's terrible.
Express, but
Literally,
I
like,
don't think that's the right timing of it.
yeah. Oh no, we mark Panda Express as we never go there during tournaments. Like no Panda Express.
So
We
it
know
got
now.
blacklisted
We
from
never.
MHEA.
Yes, yes, it did. It did. And I tell my teammates, don't go there either. Like, mm-mm. Mm-hmm.
Fair enough. Well, I want
Yeah,
to thank you so much for your time on the podcast. We're looking forward to seeing you next week.
of course. This was
And
so much fun.
yeah, of course, we want to
Mm-hmm.
again bring exposure to homeschool athletes and just show, of course, our own people that are going to be at the tournament or going to catch it on social media, but also the world. The podcast is
Mm-hmm.
going on YouTube for anyone to see. So
Yeah.
my hope is that people hear your testimony, they see the way that you approach the game, the
Mm-hmm.
way that you're thinking positively about your teammates and the excitement that you have, and really that's what this is all about. So
Mm-hmm.
again, thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you next
Yes,
week.
of course. Of course. See you then.
All right, thank you.
All right.